Alright, we're back, and this is the first video I've done in a long time on this channel. So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between the NBA and golf and why I think that the NBA and its stars are basically dragging it down and people are just not watching anymore. And there are some people that are saying the opposite. They're saying, for example, Deadline is claiming that 19% is an increase. There's an increase of 19% on ESPN and ABC, and they cite the example of the Portland versus Denver series as opposed to the Houston versus Utah series. Now, I did go back and look, and Houston and Utah wasn't a very competitive series last year. So, yes, it's a little premature to say, but I don't think it's really going to be a very good comparison at the end, because that series was mostly blowouts apart from game 2, which Utah won. It wasn't astronomical blowouts, but more than 10-point margins in most of these games. That shows that essentially the NBA series that they used to compare it to was essentially not that competitive of a series. Then you see on Sports Media Watch that in the first round, which was last month, the NBA playoff openers were mauled by Tiger and Game of Thrones. So they use a few examples here, and you see here that the Pistons Bucks had a 1.6 and 2.66 million. So these are losses of 36 and 35%. And Jazz Rockets had a 1.9 and 3.04 million. So losses of 30 and 31%. So yeah, these people they're both cherry picking which series to focus on. But I would say that the general trend is that you're seeing less and less viewership. And in fact, you also see here on Ad Age that NBA playoffs ratings slide as LeBron sits out the postseason. Dubs are doing their part to pump up the TV numbers. So this is basically, it's saying that the major media markets such as New York, LA, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Boston have helped keep this year's numbers relatively healthy. James' first postseason no-show since 2005 may have discouraged more casual hoops fans from tuning in. So that's an interesting message. New York doesn't have a team in the playoffs. LA had the Clippers, which were knocked out in the first round. Philadelphia is still in the playoffs. They have the Sixers, who I believe are playing Toronto at the moment. And you also have San Francisco market, I think, is rolled into Golden State, which are based out of they're based out of Oakland. And then you have Boston, who are still in the playoffs. So these large markets, there's only 3 of these cities have any teams in the playoffs. And when you talk about some of the smaller markets, such as over here, Cleveland, and then you have some of the markets where there is no team, such as Pittsburgh and Detroit, I believe, has been knocked out already. So there's going to be less and less viewership in those areas of the country. And there's no compelling reason to tune in because the biggest draw was, of course, LeBron James for many years. Now, another thing, speaking of LeBron James, why is he also dragging the league down? Well, he's making it more and more obvious that the league isn't as important as his own career. And apparently now they're trying to bring in his personal favorite, Tyronn Lue, as the next coach of the Lakers. And I actually laughed about this yesterday. And somebody I know who's a Lakers fan kind of, was not happy about it. But, screw the Lakers anyway. But the Lakers, if they hire Tyronn Lue, it validates all the criticism that there was last year about, or actually this season, about LeBron James basically tearing the team apart and, trying to dominate it from within. Tyronn Lue was hired by the Cavaliers as a means to replace David Blatt, who LeBron James figured he couldn't really control. He wasn't a LeBron James guy. He led the Cavaliers, or coached them rather, to the 2015 NBA Finals. But LeBron James likely thought that the credit went more to him than David Blatt. And let's be fair, when you have LeBron James on the team, how easy it is to give any credit to the coach. I mean, he's had several coaches that are no stronger in their positions than they were before. You know, there's, for example, Paul Silas, I believe, that it was one of his coaches. I think he got fired because of LeBron. You also had Eric Spoelstra, a guy who he won 2 titles with, is still not considered one of the elite coaches of the league, even though, of course, Eric Spoelstra is the only coach to have survived LeBron James' tenure, having been the coach before LeBron James came. So if this is true and the Lakers do hire Tyronn Lue, LeBron James will have destroyed the Lakers as a reputable organization. And once he leaves, they'll have to regain their credibility. And unless, of course, this turns out to be a success and they win titles there, which I'm personally not predicting. But the reason I'm saying this is if you're talking about the LA Lakers, who are considered like the Lexus of the NBA, you know, there's LA, Boston, New York, Miami. Those are the marquee areas where you go to coach a team. Obviously, Golden State has become more valuable in the past few years, but only, you know, I don't know if that will hold after the what are they called? The Splash Brothers? I don't even remember now. So once they're gone, and once Kevin Durant's gone, who's to say that Golden State will remain really a team that people follow? They seem kind of like one of those flavor of an era teams. Now, let's contrast basically LeBron James to Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is basically he's regained his entire reputation, even though unlike Tiger Woods, he doesn't have the most spotless off the field record. Unlike LeBron James, he doesn't have the most spotless off the field record. Remember, LeBron James has never been arrested, never had any sort of issues with family, issues with cheating on his wife, issues of personal family issues, because he's basically had his career completely managed since he was in high school, and he's done very well to it, and he's adjusted to it, and that's one of the reasons that LeBron James has been a success, and you have to hand it to him for that. Tiger Woods had Whoregate. He had those whores that he went and banged while he was on the road and away from his wife, Elin Nordegren, at the time. And apparently he was even telling her that it was golfing at night, which is a pretty funny picture to put in your mind. But in any case, Tiger Woods won the Masters this year, had a historic comeback, which I'm not very knowledgeable about because I'm not really a golf fan at all. But that's the difference in attitude. You have LeBron James and a lot of these other NBA stars. There are fewer and fewer of them that are getting into legal trouble. I remember, for example, when I was a kid, you used to see NBA athletes getting into trouble all the time. In fact, I think in 1998, Paul Pierce was almost murdered because of the club he went to. I think he got stabbed in the stomach or something, or maybe he was shot. So you had a lot of these players were either getting arrested or they were getting busted for drugs, or they had all sorts of issues off the court. And the NBA has largely cleaned up that image. But on the other hand, they've also done things that have detracted from the image. They've made the players much more accountable to the media, meaning that they have to speak to the media after every game. The media basically now is controlling their lives, and the players have adapted to that. They're doing all this Instagram crap, and they're putting on all these gaudy clothes and whatever. That's not the way it used to be in the NBA. I can never imagine a player like Charles Oakley, or a player like Charles Barkley, or Michael Jordan even, or John Stockton, or Reggie Miller, or Patrick Ewing, doing the type of fashion-related nonsense that's going on in the NBA today. And it's not to say they shouldn't be able to do it at all. The problem is that they basically use a lot of time to do it, and therefore a lot of the people who would normally tune into the league for just the basketball, they don't even understand what the game is about anymore. There's more and more complaining to the refs. There's more and more complaining about various political issues. Okay, Tiger Woods, meanwhile, has maintained the focus on golf. He's all about the golf. LeBron James, who is in the minds of many a much bigger superstar than Tiger Woods, and yes, basketball is a bigger sport worldwide than golf. He's basically he's focused a lot more lately on his show business career, on his appearances in the media, on his show on HBO, on various extracurricular things that he does besides basketball. And I think it has detracted from the performance of his teams. The teams around him don't necessarily perform as well because it's really just a LeBron show, and a team sport has become an individual sport. Whereas with Tiger Woods, this individual sport has become absolutely a great place for him to show the best foot that he could put forward. And yeah, he's going to get a Presidential Medal of Freedom on Monday, and I guess it will anger a few people. But on the whole, Tiger Woods has succeeded in remember, in golf, most people don't necessarily care about the politics of the sport, okay? Obviously there are bad things that have happened in the past in terms of Augusta and the racism and exclusion and things like that. But most people, if you think about it, when they turn up for a game of golf, watch people on the green, you can see these, there's this picture up over here. All these people, most of them are, in fact, if we want to racialize the issue, there's these white people that are just ecstatic that this guy, who was the first very well-known black golfer, is winning the Masters again. And back when he was a newcomer, people were like, well, this is a very strange occurrence. I mean, we've never seen somebody who looks like this who can perform as well at such a young age. Nowadays, it's like, well, finally he's redeemed himself, and that's something people really like. People like redemption stories. They don't like stories of people having their ego go supernova, and that's what's happening in the NBA. And that's why I believe a lot of people are tuning out. That's about it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also subscribe to my second channel, my first channel. That would be Bold Like a Leopard. And then you also have me on BitChute. That's at Chef Leopard, as well as on Minds.com. Same thing, at Chef Leopard. And on Gab, at Starscream85. And have an awesome Sunday.